With my father, I always assumed that Sirhan killed my father. Sirhan confessed to the crime, confessed to killing him. There were 77 eyewitnesses in the room. And, and so I didn't think there was any question. And then a guy called Paul Schrade, who was one of my father's close friends, he was a deputy director of the United Auto Workers. He had recruited Cesar Chavez into the labor movement. He was standing next to my father the night that my father was killed, and he took the first bullet. So he got shot in the head by Sirhan. Sirhan was waiting at a steam table, and my father was brought through the kitchen where he was not scheduled to go. And Sirhan fired 2 shots at my father. The first one hit Paul Schrade in the head. The second one hit a door jamb behind my father, the wooden frame of the door. The LAPD later took it out of that, removed it. Then he was grabbed by 6 men, and they pinned him against the steam table, and they took his gun hand, and they pushed it away from my father, pointing the opposite way. Mm-hmm. But Rayford Johnson later told me he was trying to pry the gun out of Sirhan's hand. Sirhan's this little guy. When I met him in prison, he was, the first thing that impressed me is how tiny and frail he looked. But Rayford Johnson said that he had superhuman strength. And he then fired off 6 more shots and emptied the chamber, but exactly the opposite direction of my father, and all of those shots hit people. So we know what happened to every bullet in his gun. He was always in front of my father and never got behind him, but the bullets that killed my father, according to Thomas Noguchi's autopsy report, Thomas Noguchi was the most important coroner in American history, and my father's autopsy is called the perfect autopsy. Because Noguchi knew that what had happened in Dallas with my uncle, where the autopsy was completely botched. And so he wanted to make sure nobody, to avoid all that criticism. So he flew in the chief coroner of all the armed service, every branch of the armed service, and a lot of other famous coroners, and they all sat in the theater and watched him perform the autopsy. And what his autopsy found is my father was shot 4 times from behind, never from in front. The shots, one of the shots passed harmlessly through his shoulder pad. The other 3, 2 lodged in his back. The other one was right behind his ear. And that in each case, they were contact shots, meaning the barrel of the gun was touching his skin or half an inch from it. And they left carbon tattoos. And they all had an upward angle, so that whoever was doing it was standing behind my father and holding the gun, not directly at him like that, but at an angle where you could keep him closer.
So it was almost like...
And the guy who was in that position is a guy called Eugene Thane Cesar, and he was a security guard who was hired 2 days before. When my father's schedule was already known.
So now he's walking through his kitchen, which he shouldn't be walking through. He's got this
security guy. He grabbed the security guard is the guy who steered him into the ambush.
That's what I'm saying.
He had my father's elbow, and he was directing him. And then, Sirhan starts firing. My father then falls back, and he lands on Cesar. My father must have known he was being shot from behind, because the last thing he did is rotate and turn and pull off clip-on tie that Cesar had on.
Wow. Get the fuck out.
You see the original early pictures before my mother took that out and put a rosary in his hand. But he has that tie in his hand, and there's pictures of Cesar from that night that don't have a tie on. Cesar was seen by all the eyewitnesses with his gun drawn. When he pushed my father off, he had his gun drawn. He was asked by the police, why did you have your gun drawn? He said, I was shooting at Sirhan, but there's no evidence of that. And then he was caught in multiple lies about what he did with the gun. The police did not take the gun from him that night. There was
a gun that was fired at the scene, and the police
did not take it. And they, the police also destroyed all the photos before trial. They collected every photo taken in that room, 2,200 photos, and destroyed them all. Now, here's what happens next. a guy shows up as Sirhan's lawyer. So he's under a lot of stress. He's trying the case for the mafia that he doesn't want to lose. And he's charged with stealing the grand jury testimony. And he somehow finds time to show up and represent Sirhan. So he goes, so he's Sirhan's lawyer.
So you think...
And he tells Sirhan, you got to plead guilty. And then he buries all of the forensic evidence, all the ballistic evidence, which if there's no way Sirhan could have been convicted because the bullets that were in my father did not match the bullets that were in other people. They didn't come from the same
Also,
gun.
13 shots fired. Sirhan's gun only holds 8.
Exactly.
So we know that it's not like he's reloading.
And there's recordings, there's audios of it, of the 13 shots.
Wow. So this is...
Anyway, it's a lot of circumstantial evidence. It's not the kind of evidence that we...
I think that's solid.
It is
but
circumstantial.
You said with your uncle, you
with
think
my
it's
uncle,
not
it's just black and white. But with my father, it's circumstantial.
Is it possible that any kind of mind-altering experiments or substances were used in both cases? Like you've heard of MKultra?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting that you say that because
didn't Sirhan say that he
believes that he was hypnotized, and the defense, even the San Quentin psychiatrist, the defense and prosecution scientists all said it was hypnotized. And I'm not arguing this because I really don't know. I'm just saying that there's a lot of fishy stuff about this. But there's a guy called Dan Martin who teaches at Harvard Medical School. He is the world's expert on hypnosis, and he's been in to hypnotize Sirhan many, many, many times. And he said, I've talked to him. He said there's 4 classes of people in hypnosis. I don't know any of this, but I think it's number 1 is the people who simply cannot be hypnotized. And then 4 is people who are the easiest hypnotized. And he told me this, he said Sirhan's like 4.9.
Is it possible to program somebody to kill, and without them realizing it? Conspiracy theorists claim that the CIA hypnotized unsuspecting candidates to carry out assassinations in the 50s and 60s, most notably that of Senator Robert Kennedy. Tonight we'll find out if that's even possible.
Senator Kennedy has been shot in the head.
In June 1968, 24-year-old Palestinian refugee Sirhan Sirhan shot dead presidential candidate Robert Kennedy in a hotel pantry. More than 40 years later, he still claims to have no memory of committing the act.
I don't remember. I must have been too hypnotized, too much out of my senses to really be aware of what happened.
It was obvious that he had been programmed to kill Robert Kennedy and programmed to forget that he'd been programmed.
During tonight's experiment, I'll be testing to see whether such unlikely-sounding claims are actually possible. I'm going to show you from scratch how it is that I can create a hypnotic state. But what they don't know is that I'm actually on the lookout for a perfect candidate that I can program to carry out the assassination of a well-known figure at a public event. Now, nothing like this has ever been attempted before. Unless, of course, the claims of the conspiracy theorists are true. Now we're going to examine what hypnosis can actually do. How far will people go while in a trance? Are they genuinely under some influence or just playing along? We're going to find out with the help of a classic test from the 1950s. And to help me with it is Professor Zoltan Dianis from Sussex University, a leading expert in the field of hypnosis and its impact on the subconscious.
Now the question is, could we make a person do something antisocial or dangerous because we give them a hypnotic suggestion?
And this is the test for that. The acid test, in fact. This chamber contains a foil-wrapped mannequin's head, over which a technician will pour highly dangerous hydrochloric acid. My 4 candidates are kitted out with safety gear and a beaker. I'm going to ask them to throw acid in someone's face. This exercise will show whether hypnosis can make you do things you wouldn't do if you were just playing along. If the subject is playing along, he won't throw the acid and he certainly won't carry out an assassination. In a little while, when you've woken up, we're going to put some hydrochloric acid in each one of those beakers. In front of you is an individual, a volunteer from the audience, we're going to call your target. And when you're awake, after a little while, you will see a blue and white polka dot handkerchief. As soon as you see the polka dot handkerchief, blue with white polka dots, you will throw your beaker of acid into the face of the target stood opposite you. If that makes sense to you, I want you to nod your head if you understand that, if it makes sense. Excellent. Good. Without the candidate's knowledge, we've switched the acid for water, and they're now awoken. Eyes open, wide awake. Thank you. Lawrence, if you can please take some of the acid and give them each a dose in their beaker. Excellent. Good, excellent. So, Professor, how long have you been working in this field for?
I went to Sydney in the mid-80s for my master's, and there was a master's by research. And my research was hypnosis, so that's when
sorry, could you hang on just a second, excuse me. Excellent. 4 out of 4. All 4 commit a highly dangerous act. Now, I only need 2 of them, so I've decided to continue with Alex and Chris. What happened?
Yeah, I just kind of instinctively did it.
I just had the impulse to throw it in his face.
Throughout the evening, I've been assessing both candidates, and I've come to the conclusion that Chris is my perfect subject. There's something of a blank slate about him, which suggests a heightened responsiveness to suggestion. In order to condition Chris to become an assassin, I'll be using brainwashing techniques allegedly employed by the CIA's MKultra program in the 1960s. There are 2 key stages to this process: the marksman mode and spontaneous amnesia. Eyewitness accounts report that Robert Kennedy's assassin, Sirhan Sirhan, was in a trance-like state during the shooting. Under hypnosis, the convicted killer has since said that he thought he was firing at a target in a rifle range and not at a human being. He claims a mystery woman in a polka dot dress pinched him on the shoulder to send him into this range or marksman mode. In the second part of the assassin programming process, I'm going to create gaps in Chris's memory. A form of spontaneous amnesia designed to make him forget his actions if and when he attempts the assassination. Sirhan Sirhan claims that he has no memory of killing Bobby Kennedy.
I have never been able to remember what happened in that place at that time, but I have not been able to remember many things and incidents which took place in the weeks leading up to the shooting.
In March 2011, he was denied parole for the 14th time because he hasn't shown enough remorse or taken full responsibility for the crime that he says he doesn't remember committing.
We note with some degree of distrust, quite frankly, you're remembering parts of this and not remembering others.
Okay, this is really important for you to know.
Yeah.
This gun is loaded with 3 bullets. So don't touch it.
Yeah.
Keep it with you until you see Darren and Stephen after Stephen's finished his talk.
Okay.
The thing is, I know you have it, but whatever you do, don't lose it.
Special effects experts insert fake blood packs into his jacket in case Chris does pull the trigger during his performance. After 17 minutes, he'll get his first trigger. What happens afterwards will determine whether this experiment succeeds or fails.
Oh, there's always one, isn't there? God bless her. Thank you. Well done. Amazing ideas, brilliant concepts, but it's been swamped. It's been swamped by Swahili. No one really understands how to save a language or whether a language is worth saving. France, for example, has the language of
Target is Stephen Fry.
and the French have absolutely no interest, the rest of France, in saving it. Indeed, I went to visit the Académie Française, which I'm sure you've heard of, which is very, they also make words up. Courriel, they decided, would be the word for email. They were not going to have le email or l'email. Ordinateur, they decided, would be a computer, an ordinateur. And so they made up, words that were not allowed to enter the French language, which is, let's be honest, it's pissing into the wind. You can't.
See whether it's a gentleman called Chris, who's currently in a hypnotic trance. See whether it's possible to hypnotically program a person to kill. Chris, as far as he's concerned, just carried out a real assassination. Stephen was in on that, and there was no danger at all. Here he is. Stephen, everybody, how'd you go? Anything strange happened during the talk?
No.
I'm going to show you some footage of something that did happen. We actually had a camera on you. I know we didn't let you know that we were filming, which was important. Do you remember that woman in the polka dot dress?
No.
Don't remember her turning around talking to you?
No.
Remember that bit?
No.
Yes, at the moment you will have no memory of this at all, but you just assassinated a national treasure.
Yes, you shot me.
Okay, so look, back to you.
I remember the polka dot woman coming in there. And yeah, just kind of picking the gun up from the side like I was told.
Where did you think you were?
Nowhere, but if anywhere, it was closest to the range because I could visualise the lights going down and the target, and picking it up felt like I was picking it off that bench.
Did you feel anything when you were aiming a loaded gun at Stephen?
Not really. No. Just felt like the outline of the target.
Wow.
My name is Joseph Spencer. From May 1970 to October 1997, I served the United States government as a top secret operative, but not in a category that is commonly known or understood. I was known as a man in black. Following 7 years acting as a counterintelligence agent for the CIA, I was recruited for a new assignment that entailed working within above top secret operations. I was aware of the black budget projects, but never knew the context of them due to their high level of secrecy. Even the president was denied access to their inner workings. Annually, billions of dollars are poured into black projects, which operate without any supervision or intrusion. They have full autonomy. This transition in my life happened in 1970. The senior black project director was William T. Latham, who had worked under CIA Executive Director Richard Schlesinger. Latham stated that I was the perfect candidate for my new position. I was a foster child, and I had no connections to existing relatives. I had no friends or social life. It was easy for them to erase my past and provide me with a new identity. I gave myself to them as a priest would to his God. But first, my mind had to be erased. I was injected with various forms of mind-altering drugs, LSD, heroin, mescaline, morphine, sodium pentothal, and more. Drug-induced hypnosis followed with antegrade and retrograde amnesia. The goal was to program me to do two things: kill and forget. After 9 months of programming, I had become a man in black. We silenced countless victims, not only men, but women of all ages and even teenagers. The following day, after each kill, our memories were reset, so we would have no recollection of the murders.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.